If you own a Honda, Acura, Toyota, Lexus, or Subaru, stop what you're doing and pay attention to this next interview. Please welcome to our show Tom O'Donnell, owner of Preferred Auto Care in Reno. Tom, welcome back to our show.
Thank you, Mitch.
At Preferred Auto Care, you specialize in specific makes. Once again, let's let our community know what makes they can bring to you.
Oh, we're experts in Honda, Acura, Toyota, Lexus, and Subarus.
And you say experts. You've really taken even a normal brake service to a whole new level of quality. So let's talk about brake jobs because they're not all the same. There are both on-car and off-car brake turning.
Yeah, that's right. The best way to machine a rotor is you want to take the rotor, the machine, and bring it to the rotor and mount it on the car. You want to actually machine the rotor on the vehicle. If the rotor is slightly bent or slightly out of round, what that does, it'll compensate for it so that the rotor will not vary back and forth, and that's what causes some of the vibration. They also varies the thickness of the rotor, which causes the vibration also.
And one of the things that you've taken on is making sure that our community knows that if they go to a brake shop and they hear that you have to replace your calipers, that that's not necessarily true, and it is offensive as well to those of us that have been in the industry for a number of years.
Well, the problem with some of these places, all they do is they sell you calipers with every brake job. The disadvantage of that is it costs you a lot of extra money. It's not always necessary. Actually, probably more than 99% of the time, it's not necessary. If you go to the dealerships, they don't sell you calipers. Why is it that these other places, what really ticks you off, is selling these calipers?
At Preferred Auto Care, you actually service these calipers instead of replace them.
Well, yeah, with every brake job, what you do is you have to make sure all the slides and the pins are properly lubricated. You have to use the proper grease. You have to make sure all the rubber bushings are good. And
I think one of the reasons why, Tom, that some of these national chains will actually sell the requirement to replace the calipers is maybe they just don't have the technical staff capable of servicing them.
It's possible. I don't know the exact reason. I just think that you're spending too much money for a proper brake job.
And one of the other things, too, you mentioned to me before is typically the calipers that you see fail are the aftermarket ones that they've replaced them with.
I would say probably about 80 to 90% of every caliper that we end up replacing has been replaced before we got there with an aftermarket part.
And at Preferred Auto Care, you use manufacturer or original equipment manufacturer. Let's explain that.
Well, we primarily use genuine or OEM parts, original equipment manufacturer. An OEM part is original equipment manufacturer, meaning that it is the original equipment part, it just doesn't come in the factory box.
With the factory insignia on it. Sometimes they just remove that insignia, it's the same part.
Yes, and it usually means savings.
And talking about savings, you save our community money in many different ways. Let's start with the hourly labor rate.
Well, our labor rate compared to most of the cars that we work on, we can save anywhere between $5 and over $20 per flag hour on the vehicles.
And I just recently witnessed an example of what that looks like that I'd like to share with our community. An individual was at your shop and they were told by the dealership that they needed a brake modulator.
That's correct. They needed a brake modulator and they were quoted $2,000 for the part plus 4 hours labor worth of work. And their labor rate was about $120 if I'm not mistaken. And the $2,000 part, when I looked it up, was about $1,700.
In list price from the manufacturer of the part. So they inflated the list price by about $300.
Yeah, and that was original in a factory box part, $300 less than what they were quoted.
Same part. And then you mentioned 4 hours labor at about $120, $122 an hour compared to your $98 an hour, right?
That's correct.
And your job, you looked it up, it was a 2.5 hour job, not a 4 hour job.
It was about a 2.5 hour job.
We're talking hundreds and hundreds of dollars saving for the same part installed by a quality business. One of the reasons you also save people money is you help people yourself. You don't employ commissioned salespeople at your service counter.
No, I don't believe in having commissioned salesmen. You know, my opinion about commissioned salesmen is they may, not all of them, but they might like to pad their paycheck. If their paycheck's a little light, instead of saying, you have 15% left or 20% left on your brakes, they may say, you need them now.
Well, and you say 15, 20%. If you've got brakes that have been on a car for 80,000 miles, you still maybe have 12 to 16,000 miles left on that. And they're saying it is a percentage, which makes people think they may need them now.
Well, yeah, because 15% sounds really scary. It sounds like there's not much left.
So everything's relative. One of the things that I love about Preferred Auto Care is you also value your consumer's time.
Oh, yes. We work by appointment only. This way you can get in and out. We don't overbook 20, 30% and then turn people away. No, we get everyone in and out in a timely fashion. Now, emergencies do happen, but that's an emergency.
That's Tom O'Donnell, owner of Preferred Auto Care in Sparks. How do they get a hold of you?
We're at 1705 Gregg Street. That's Rock and Gregg. Or 775-355-7033 or preferredautoreno.com.
Thanks again for being here.
Thanks, Mitch.